With TikTok being sold to Oracle and the algorithm changing to probably show you more right wing users as well as more TikTok ads and stuff like that, I honestly cannot wait until the Democratic Party realizes that they've lost complete and utter contact with their electorate. Because that's what's going to happen. I can almost guarantee you. A lot of people have left X. A lot of people don't really use Instagram for politics in that way. And a lot of people were getting a lot of news about ICE and all these things, as well as Palestine, on TikTok. And they thought that selling the app, because they thought, oh my goodness, it's because they're getting they're getting radicalized by TikTok. They're not going to believe us anymore. They thought that that was going to be the selling point in terms of getting people off of this app and back into their clutches regarding the propaganda that they spread as a part of the United States government. But honestly, I'm pretty sure that they don't realize that basically they're going to lose complete contact with their electorate after not having built in any sort of pathways as a backup towards contacting Gen Z, Millennial, and a lot of Gen X and Boomer voters who utilize social media to organize a lot of times for them. And with CBS News acting as state media, as well as almost every single news outlet and social media platform being bought up by a Trump supporter, they fucked themselves. They have fucked themselves royally. And the sad part is they either don't know or they don't care. But watch, people are going to start to lose contact with the ideals of the Democratic Party because they've made no effort to actually build out a communication strategy outside of social media. And now that all of it is controlled by their opposition, they will have no pathways forward. But what do I know? They actively brag that they don't listen to their constituents, so Democrats are currently tripping all over themselves, all over Twitter, trying to rush to deal with the censorship that is happening on TikTok. Those motherfuckers rammed this bill through under Biden. It was the most functional that our government has ever worked in the last few decades, was making sure that this app sold to an American owner, only for that owner to be a fucking 47 supporter. Because you can't say that on here anymore. You can't say a bunch of certain words that lead to you know who. All because they fucking voted for it. Because they seem in their little brains to believe that censorship is neutral. Oh, anybody could do it. We can do it. We're going to look into the censorship on TikTok. Are you? They're full of shit. In fact, every single thing that they run on will be censored on this app now. And now they're concerned because left-leaning content creators can't get their content out there. They knew that was the case. Anybody with a iota of common fucking sense knew that that was going to be the case. But they did it to appease their owners. And the ironic part is, they can't even do that effectively. Because you want to know what? They just Streisanded themselves all up and down the fucking internet. Because people are going to start to wonder and ask why the thing that they are most capable of doing, that they have actually rammed through, was not codifying Roe v. Wade, was not universal health care, was not putting in stopgaps to make sure people were protected from fascism, was not income inequality, was not giving police more money, was not giving frozen water more money. It was banning TikTok. It was making sure TikTok sold. And once people start to look at the why, they're going to have a lot of questions.
We have some breaking news. California Governor Gavin Newsom just launched an investigation into TikTok and its censoring of anti-Trump videos. On social media, Governor Gavin Newsom responded to somebody saying that you can't say Epstein on the app now. It'll be in violation of community guidelines. And he said, it's time to investigate. I'm launching a review into whether TikTok is violating state law by censoring Trump critical content. And his press office account followed up by saying, following TikTok's sale to a Trump-aligned business group, our office has received reports and independently confirmed instances of suppressed content critical of Donald Trump. Gavin Newsom is launching a review of this conduct and is calling on the California Department of Justice to determine whether it violates California law. I mean, look, we've all seen TikTok be down over the past couple of days. Nobody's been able to share information about Minnesota or ICE or Donald Trump, and now words that are critical of Trump are now being suppressed. I mean, it's crazy. So Governor Gavin Newsom is investigating, and I think other Democratic governors should do the same. Look at your state law, see if what's going on here might be breaking them.
So this comment reads, Biden literally wrecked the careers of his own TikTok army and handed the platform right over to Trump. Well, yeah, but it's a little bit worse than that. So we can all see that the data that TikTok is taking is a lot more extreme than China was taking from users, because every single American tech company is like predatory in nature. But I digress. It's actually like, so they're tracking gender identity and immigration status in messages and videos and things like that. They haven't just wrecked the careers of their TikTok army. They've tied the party and their TikTok army to any potential deportations, abuses, kidnappings, people being placed in concentration camps, any data that leads to people being harmed based off of what is being collected on this app and is turned over to the Trump administration is now tied directly to those TikTok creators and the Democratic Party overall. And the Democratic Party didn't just wreck their careers in terms of the monetization on this platform, the surveillance of this platform, or people rushing to leave this platform, but they've also made them look untrustworthy and not as close to the Democratic Party as the Democratic Party claims to be in relation to working with TikTok creators. And they will be unreliable narrators of the politics that they espouse, because if people's careers on this app, if people's even just the income that they make to carry them over from month to month to make ends meet or fundraise for healthcare, even if any of that decreases or disappears, they will have also tied both of those entities themselves and those TikTok creators who stumped for those politicians to suffering that people can see on their own dining room tables. Not to mention that a lot of people's disposable income comes from social media creation. A lot of people are not making thousands upon thousands of dollars on this app. They're making enough to spend a nice day here or there to donate to this organization. I don't know, Act Blue, for instance. And they put that all at risk at a time in which they're taking out loans to float them from month to month.
I just signed into law the national security package that was passed by the House of Representatives this weekend and by the Senate yesterday. It's going to make America safer, it's going to make the world safer, and it continues America's leadership in the world, and everyone knows it.
You know what's weird about the TikTok ban? Only 30% of Americans in polls said that they would support a TikTok ban, and not all of them said that enthusiastically. 72% of Americans want comprehensive privacy legislation. So there's no groundswell of support for getting rid of TikTok. And it's worth noting that this is not uncommon with Congress. Legislation has been not reflecting popular opinion for quite some time. Otherwise, we would have a federal abortion law. We would have more gun control laws. And so we're in this weird situation where we have lawmakers acting in an election year on something that they know is wildly unpopular. There's tons of people calling office saying, don't ban TikTok, my small business relies on it. Instead, they're going ahead with it. And that just shows you something very strange about where we are in American politics right now, where even in an election year, elected officials are not feeling like they are beholden to their constituents on something that is so unpopular. And that's something to consider as we think about the TikTok ban, because the reality is that it's not necessarily going to make our data safer. Sure, the Chinese government could be taking all our data about my TikToks. So I'll tell you what they would find out about me is that my timeline is flooded with Basque cheesecake recipes right now, but Godspeed to them monetizing that or doing whatever they want to target me. But the fact is that like somebody's gonna have to buy TikTok. That's really what's gonna happen. And then it's gonna be some sort of tech billionaire, maybe a Wall Street billionaire, maybe a bunch of them all together. There's a bunch of proposals out there. And then they're gonna have it. Also worth noting, those people also have a political agenda, and they are not really beholden to any laws, right? They can do whatever they want. They could sell the data to China. They could goose the algorithm to boost their political interest because we have failed to pass federal privacy legislation. We have no baselines about how your data can be exploited or whether certain types of use of data are just off limits. We also have no rules about the algorithm, right? We have no visibility, transparency. We have no ability to control it, right? I have tried like not liking all the Basque cheesecake recipes on TikTok, but it's not changing the algorithm for me. Like I would like a dial, just like let me turn off cheesecake and turn up something else. Europe just passed some laws like that. They do have some requirements for algorithmic transparency, also for algorithmic choice, but the US has failed to follow suit. So I think that it's time to think about what we really want and see if we can get Congress to do it.
Daily reminder that these are the people that actually decide basically everything on behalf of the entire country, where our money gets spent, how much we pay in taxes, whether or not TikTok gets banned, what's considered freedom, what's not. These people probably don't even know how to attach a PDF file to an email. These people probably don't even know how to connect their phone to the Wi-Fi. These people haven't worked a real fucking job in probably 30 years. And also keep in mind that once you get voted into one of these political positions, you get paid at minimum like $200,000 for the rest of your life. So they can just sit in Congress, do absolutely nothing, and just age gracefully, in quotation marks. The worst part about elderly people being in political power is that they're not even going to have to live through the decisions that they are making on behalf of everyone else. They'll be gone by the time the actual real consequences come from their actions that they're deciding on right now. It just makes me sick. And if you look down there, I don't see a single person that looks like they are even at the age of 40. Every single one of these people is 60 plus, and there's a reason for that.
And this leads us to the idea of gerontocracy. Right? This is Joe Biden, President of the United States, and this is Mitch McConnell, who is head of the Senate. They're both retired now, okay? But they're both in their 80s, and they were the two most powerful men in America. He can't walk straight, okay? Whenever he walks, he trips. This guy is even worse because, look at this. The guy's brain dead. The guy is literally brain dead in public, okay? He'll be like, and like, no matter what you do, he's like, this is brain dead, okay? This is a brain freeze. The guy should not be one of the most powerful men in America, but he is. That's the world we live in, because he will not give up power. This is Dianne Feinstein. She died in office. She was 90 years old. She was 90 years old, and she was still working, and she died in her office. And she was a senator in the United States. These people are literally fighting for life, okay? They refuse to give up power. They only give up power if they die. This is the US Senate, again, the most powerful political institution in America. These are people who are above the standard retirement age, which is 62, okay? This guy's 90 years old, and he's still working. 90 years old, and he's still working in the Senate. And he doesn't want to retire. Chuck Grassley.
Or Twitter X, or Instagram, or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
You can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
We're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to explain it away. Autocracy is on the march, and we now have a government in the United States that has thrown in its lot with the autocrats, which has made a choice to support those who wage war, not peace, who have given enormous power to the men who control the information flow in our world, who have all pledged allegiance to the continuation of algorithms that not only addict us, but poison us with hatred and fear. So moments like this, which are too few and far between right now, need to be underscored with urgency. And it is certainly my hope that when the World Forum ends, those of us privileged enough to be here will continue to speak out and work for the betterment of democracy and humanity. I was so struck listening to all of the speakers, but one of the themes that really stood out to me was what Maria said about information, what Natalia said about information. and what David Sinclair said about information. Information determines how we think, and how we think determines what we say, and what we say determines what we do, whether it's about aging in the human body or preserving and protecting our freedom and our democracy.
Hey, hello. What do you want me to say to you? Listen, if we don't look tough on China, we'll look weak to Republicans ahead of 2024. Did you ever think about how you would look to the people that actually vote for you? But we have those votes in the bag. Not anymore, you don't. What are there other options than us? Well, remember in 2016 with Hillary? Where you all refused to campaign in several blue states that you thought you had in the bag? We don't need to rehash. And those blue states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania that you thought you had in the bag went to Donald Trump. The blue remembers, yes. Well, let's just say that banning TikTok isn't just ignoring those blue states that you thought you had in the bag. It's like bombing them. That's so dramatic. Small businesses close, communities shatter, people lose representation. That's not. You keep telling them you could do what you did at home anywhere, but you know that their reach won't go as far. But it's bipartisan. The GOP and Democrats came together for this. Why do you think they would do that?
But beyond that, this is a conversation of government overreach and free speech, and even more so, a conversation about how America interacts with other countries. And that would be more valid if the Chinese app complaints were valid. However, as we're peeling back the layers of this TikTok ban situation, even that's not adding up. We're talking about the dangers of losing our data. Well, then why has Meta been allowed legally, because they got permission from Congress, without user consent in America, to sell our data?
My account is currently restricted. Guys, quick update about this account. I made 2 videos mentioning MAGA and Donald Trump, and now my account is not in good standing, and it's saying that I've violated community guidelines, saying that my video is censored because it shares complex themes that may hurt people's feelings, basically. Hurt people's feelings. And that the information I'm sharing may lead to people feeling anxious. TikTok has never been the same since it went away after that first ban in January. And now it feels like everything you say, any comment you leave, everything is just restricted. The algorithm is off. It's showing things from January, showing posts from 2024, 2023. So I don't know. Newsflash, we live in an anxious, unstable world, and he's the reason for it. So if you see me posting a little bit less on here as of this month, that's why. I don't know when they'll remove that restriction, but that's just what's happening. I hope you guys had a great weekend.
You have these new things, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is followers. TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential.
It's official. TikTok just announced they've handed control of U.S. TikTok over to Zionist billionaire and MAGA oligarch Larry Ellison. This completes a 2.5-year campaign by the state of Israel to censor Americans' TikTok because the platform permitted pro-Palestinian speech. Remember, Netanyahu told us this out loud last August when he met with a fleet of paid American influencers, telling them that the most important thing happening for Israel in their digital war, their propaganda machine, was the TikTok sale to Larry Ellison, a dear friend of Netanyahu, the largest donor to the IDF, and a mega billionaire who has spent the last year buying up social media platforms and news outlets like Paramount, Skydance, and CBS, and then censored them, firing pro-Palestinian commentators, making sure that whatever they put out is pro-regime, pro-US, and pro-Israel slop. We are living through what may be the largest case of mass censorship we will experience in our lives. It's not just pro-Palestinian speech that will disappear from this app in the coming days, weeks, and months. It's anything that is not pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire, and pro-empire. I tried my best this entire time since the very beginning to document and explain exactly why these politicians moved to ban TikTok. Every step of the way pointed to the fact that they were trying to censor this platform on behalf of Israel. It's not and never was about China or national security. This was always about censorship, about hiding the truth, about protecting the criminals in power. I don't know what will happen in the next days, weeks, months on this platform. You may see me disappear without another notice. Make sure you do not lose me. You can get my work sent straight to your mailbox, straight to your phone, with no possibility of being censored by a billionaire or whoever. Go to my link in bio, subscribe to me for free on my Substack. You join by giving me your email. That's all you have to do. That's how you sign up. Make sure you do that. This may be one of the last times you see me. It's been nice, guys. I've worked really hard to prevent this from happening. The fight will continue. Free Palestine.
Okay, guys. So yesterday, TikTok was sold to an American company. Today, January 23rd, guess what search spiked up by 1,000%? Reasons to love Israel. Spiked up literally yesterday. This is how much people were searching reasons to love Israel yesterday. Okay? And suddenly, TikTok gets sold yesterday, and immediately there are over 2,000 search insights on reasons to love Israel. And now reasons to love Israel is a trending topic the day after TikTok gets sold. So what this tells me is allegedly TikTok in the US is being lobbied by one of these organizations in order to promote reasons to love Israel on the For You page. So for everyone saying that one of the biggest reasons the US wanted to control TikTok was because of this reason right here, allegedly, you are correct. Like, mind-blowing. And the demographic, if you look right here, is ages 18 to 24. The youth. That is the people they want. Viewer insights seeing this and this popping up on their feed. So yeah, I think this should tell us everything we need to know. Rip TikTok.
Can somebody tell me why when I double checked that I still had Oracle blocked, the first thing that came up, the first thing in the searches, it wasn't Oracle. The first account was Israel. It was Israel. Why would the Israeli account come up when you type in Oracle? Has nothing to do with it, apparently, but apparently has everything to do with it. Yes, I understand all the connections, and yes, I understand who now owns this app, and I understand the influence, and I understand what's going on here, but it just like in plain sight. They're not even hiding this shit. When I type in Oracle, the first thing is not Oracle's account, it's Israel. And that's why probably I have a video right now that has been stuck at 0 views for hours. I delete and re-edit, I post it again, 0 views. I delete and re-edit, post it again, 0, nothing. It has to do, I have to believe, with when you go and check Oracle's account, Israel pops up.
Less than a week. It took less than a week of the new TikTok ownership before Palestinian journalist and genocide survivor Bisan Adwa from Gaza was banned from TikTok. Don't get it twisted. This was the reason for the TikTok ban in the first place. They did not want us seeing what was coming out of Palestine. They did not want us seeing what was happening in Gaza. That was how all of this started. That is not just my opinion. That is a fact. There have been people inside and outside the Biden administration and politicians on both sides of the aisle that have admitted this. See, once it happened, it gave way to give to the Trump administration to ensure that the acquisition would be done by Trump's billionaire buddies. So now they have it, and they're weaponizing it against the left and liberals and democracy and pretty much everybody who's not a right-wing Trump supporter. By the way, they've been doing this on all the other platforms too. It's just the most acute and heavy-handed right now on TikTok because they're not even pretending. It's so over the top and so obvious. When I go to my follow page, I'm not seeing the videos of the people I follow living outside of the US.
1 second, I want to show you guys.
What happened?
Look at my tire right here.
Oh boy.
Huge with, you know, it's so sad that this could have been an accident, but the first thing that comes to my mind is if this was an anti-Semitic act, if somebody knew my beard, my yarmulke, and said, let me do that to this guy.
It looks like it was placed there perfectly.
But it's like the inside of the tire. But it's so sad that even that has to go through my mind. Today, Nation, no people. No one should ever have to have that percolating. Is somebody attacking me for who I am? My race, religion? Are they? But the Jewish people today have that. This must stop.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So TikTok offered me a 5-question test on what I shouldn't post in order to get a warning off of my account. These questions have yes or no answers on what violates community guidelines. Screenshot all of them, but this is just the first one. Unblurred clip showing exposed organs. Obviously, I would not do that. So yes, that is a violation. Posting a clip of a person on fire with visible burned flesh. I guess yes, and that was correct. Posting screams and blows from a real beating while describing the incident. I guess yes, and that was correct. Posting an unblurred video showing police violently kicking someone already restrained. Yes, it's a violation. We allow harmless arrest or crowd control, but not violent actions, even by officers. Yeah, that one right there. Training complete. Congratulations on completing your training and you're answering all your questions correctly. Your warning status will be removed in 14 days. Thank you. So that last question, obviously no one wants to see an beating up. But how are people going to see injustice by these if we cannot post video proof of it happening? How are we going to raise awareness? That's right, they don't want us to. So I, unfortunately, have to watch my mouth over the next 14 days, or my warning will stay active. Gotta love free speech, am I right?
Democrats are now pretending to be shocked by the consequences of a law they overwhelmingly voted for. So now, Gavin Newsom wants to investigate TikTok. After TikTok was forced into a sale to Larry Ellison, Democrats are suddenly very concerned about censorship, political manipulation, and free speech. This was the direct result of a law Democrats overwhelmingly voted for, signed by Joe Biden, and aggressively defended by party leadership. Let me remind you, in the House, 155 Democrats voted yes. That includes leadership like Hakeem Jeffries, Catherine Clark, and Pete Aguilar. In the Senate, the vast majority of Democrats also voted in favor, including people like Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker, John Ossoff, Chris Coons, and Mark Warner. And Biden didn't hesitate to sign it into law. They forced TikTok into a divest or ban box, knowing full well what that meant. And let's be honest about the context. TikTok had become the platform where Israel's atrocities in Gaza were being documented in real time. Young people were seeing things that legacy media wasn't showing them. And public opinion, especially among the Democrats' own base, was shifting fast against Israel. Lawmakers literally said TikTok was misleading young people about Israel. Hearings focused on narratives and perception, so Democrats voted to crack TikTok. Now that the inevitable has happened, TikTok ends up in the hands of a Trump-aligned billionaire, and reports emerge of Trump-critical content being suppressed. Gavin Newsom all of a sudden wants to play hero and launch an investigation? The hypocrisy. You don't get to help dismantle one of the last major platforms outside U.S. political control and then act shocked when billionaires and partisan interests shape what people see. You don't get to wrap censorship in national security, then suddenly rediscover your commitment to free speech and its effects once it affects your side. This outcome was warned about. Digital rights groups warned about it, creators warned about it, Palestinian journalists warned about it, and Democrats ignored all of that because it made them uncomfortable. Now they're pretending they had nothing to do with the mess they helped create.
Just a reminder that the whole reason why this app is acting all funky is because of the Democrats. They were so frustrated that people were becoming pro-Palestinian that they decided to ban the app. and basically had Joe Biden sign away any actual reach that the people had to educate others. And now they're all shocked that the right-wing consortium that now owns TikTok is censoring people. Give me a break, dude.
First thing that's going to happen in the Western world is decline of democracy and freedom. So remember, in the rise phase, society is democratic and open and meritocratic. But as you move on, it becomes more bureaucratic and ultimately authoritarian, okay? So we will see the United States, Europe become much more authoritarian. You will see a collapse of democracy and freedom in these nations. And already we're seeing this happen in the United States, where Trump is using more and more military to resolve issues, right? So that's the first prediction. And this is going to happen throughout the Western world. Second thing is economic collapse. So as people have less and less right to speak up, they feel less invested in the system, they're less willing to work. Therefore, you have economic collapse. People don't believe in the system anymore. Okay, the system is in crisis. This will lead to immigration. The government is like, you know what, if the people don't want to work, screw them, let's bring in immigrants to do the work. Okay, this is, let's replace our population. But the people are not going to sit back and take it, right? This leads to civil war. People are not killing each other on the streets. And the government is like, you know what? If we continue to let them fight, eventually they're going to come after us. So what we'll do is send them off to like these stupid, pointless wars overseas. Okay? So now you have stupid wars. Stupid foreign wars. And these are my 5 predictions for the world for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Okay? Europe and America will see less freedom and democracy. There'll be economic collapse, increased immigration, civil conflict, and then ultimately stupid foreign wars. And I'm not saying this happens in a sequence. I'm saying you'll see all 5 things. Okay? But they may happen in different order. Any questions? Well, the moment that the American empire dies, the empire of Israel is born. Now let's look at America. Obviously, America does not want to use ground troops because the moment that Americans start dying in the Middle East, the moment that they institute a draft, it will create chaos in America. People are going to protest, people are going to revolt. Politically speaking, it will be a quagmire. What the American empire wants to do is use bombing, propaganda, and financing, and this is something we discussed last video, to overthrow the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah, and its mullahs, and install a more friendly regime that they can control. And in that way, they can control all the resources, the oil of the Middle East, and they can control global trade as well. And they have to do this as a response to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, which really put the American empire on the back foot, okay? So that's the optimal strategy of the American empire, okay? To overthrow the regime with as little casualties as possible, hopefully through bombing, decapitation strikes, killing the Ayatollah, special forces strategies, basically. But the person leading the American empire right now is Donald Trump. And if we look at what he wants, it's actually different from what the American empire wants. Let's ask ourselves a question. What game is Donald Trump playing? Does he really care about Iran? Does he really care about the Middle East? Does he really care about Israel and Zionism and the Greater Israel Project? My guess is he does not care. What he cares about is maintaining his political authority and power within the United States. He also cares about destroying the global elite that, in his mind, robbed him of power in 2022. Remember, for Trump, 2020 elections were stolen from him. It's something that he's been adamant about for the past 4 years. In fact, he stews over it. So he wants to get back at the global elite who stole the American election from him, and also wants to make sure he stays in power. And that means destroying the global elite and the American empire. Okay, so it's really a struggle between America First, represented by Donald Trump, and American Empire. Now you would think that this war between the American First people and the American Empire would mean that Donald Trump would not use ground troops in Iran. But what better way to destroy the American Empire than to give it what all that it wants? Okay? What better way to destroy the American Empire by making it arrogant, and by giving it all it wants, and by putting it in a situation that it cannot possibly win, right? So the idea is this. The idea is, at first, Donald Trump will seem to want regime change in Iran. And he may even commit ground troops. But as the American people start protesting, as there's violence and civil strife within America, as American soldiers start to die in Iran, as the global economy collapses, then Donald Trump's going to want to change his mind, right? But the American Empire is fully committed to winning this war. It's all in. It refuses to surrender. And now a conflict emerges between the American Empire and America First. And Donald Trump can now aggravate this tension by standing with America First over the American Empire. And this would lead to a civil war. And you would think this is a bad thing, but a civil war and an unwinnable war in the Middle East are going to greatly enhance the power and authority of Donald Trump. So much so that he would probably be able to capture a third term. It's really interesting in that all three major players, Donald Trump, Israel, and Iran, want America to use ground troops in Iran for their own selfish, individualistic purposes. And that's why I think ground troops will eventually be used in Iran. And I think what will happen is that basically all three players, Iran, Israel, and Donald Trump, will get exactly what they want. Israel will be able to remove America from the Middle East and become the Empire of Israel. Iran will unite the Muslim world behind his leadership. And Donald Trump will probably get his third term. Okay, that's what I see the upshot of this war being. Now, this raises a lot of questions, though, right? I mean, if Israel becomes Greater Israel, and it becomes the Empire of Israel and dominates the Middle East, controlling oil and trade, then wouldn't the world unite against Israel? And unfortunately, that's part of the plan. That's part of the prophecy. Okay, and this is something that we'll discuss in the next video, because using game theory itself is not it's not enough to fully explain, understand what's going on in the Middle East. To fully understand what's going on, in my next video, I'm going to explain to you the religious ideals, the religious obsessions driving this war in the Middle East. I'm going to explain to you the idea of eschatology, which means the understanding of how the world ends. Basically, all the major players in the game, Iran, Israel, even to a certain extent the United States, the Christian Zionists within the United States, see this war in Iran as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. They really see this as the end of the world. And that's why this war is so scary for all of us. I will reveal to you the religious dimensions of this war. I'm going to show you how the American Empire will fall, and I will show you that what will replace the American Empire is Israel, what we call Pax Judaica. So these are my three predictions. First of all, they're going to rebuild the Temple of Solomon. Okay, they're going to build the third temple by destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They're going to do that sooner or later. Okay, that's the first thing they're going to do. And you know why? Because when we read the Bible, you can see how happy they were. Okay, because they felt completed. They felt as though God is with us, God has forgiven us, God loves us. Okay, so building the third temple is crucial to the identity of Israel today. Okay, so they're going to do this, and it's going to cause a lot of problems because, again, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in the Islamic world, and it's going to create a lot of conflict between Israel and the Islamic world. Okay, do they care? Not really. Okay, number two, you can see how when the Jews returned, they were convinced that they were forced out of Jerusalem because they offended God, okay? So, in other words, if Jews want to maintain control over Israel, they need to obey the laws of God, which means that they become a theocracy, okay? Now I'm not sure if you've been to Israel. I've been to Israel. And if you go to a place like Tel Aviv, it's a very open, liberal, cosmopolitan, forward-looking place. Okay, I think that Tel Aviv has one of the world's highest concentrations of gays in the world. Okay, guess what? That's gone. Okay, as Israel develops over time, it's going to become more and more of a theocracy, where the Bible is the law. Okay, and the third thing is that we can expect that as the Pax Judaica expands, more and more Jews will return to Israel. Look, the reality is this. If you look at the Middle East, Israel is the greatest power in the Middle East. There's no force in the Middle East that can prevent Israel from expanding and creating the Pax Judaica, which is their ambition, okay? So this is just an introduction. But the thing I want you guys to remember is that, first of all, the Jewish identity, it is fluid, it's flexible, it's open. It was created by empire for the purpose of maintaining empire. Okay? And we're going to see this throughout history as well. All right? So, was this clear to you guys? Are there any questions? Don't say the Jews. Okay? There are different groups. There's the Israelites. The Israelites are in the time of King David. They're gone. Okay? Let's forget the Israelites. There are the Jews. And the Jews are people who practice Judaism. Okay? And there are the Israelis. Israelis are citizens of the nation of Israel. It's the Israelis that are doing this, not the Jews. There's a difference, okay? Because the Jews are spread out throughout the world, okay? What we call the Jewish diaspora. And there are a lot of Jews in the world who oppose the nation of Israel because, well, what the nation of Israel is doing, they believe goes against the will of God. Okay?
Amen.
So, Israelis, not Jews, okay?
My guy.
Okay, so the Israelis is, I think, like the news just disappears about how Israelis attacked Palestine. It's just because previously it was like all on the house searches, but recently it's just gone. The news is.
Okay. Look, the reality is that if you read the Bible, it's clear what's going to happen. Israel is going to clear the West Bank and Gaza of Palestinians to establish their theocratic state. Okay, they can't have Palestinians and Arabs around. It has to be completely Jewish. And these Palestinians can be moved elsewhere, to Jordan, to Egypt. They don't really care. Okay, but this process will take time. Okay, all right. Any more questions, guys? Okay, great. So, was this clear? The ideas in this class are clear, okay? So, next class, what we'll do is we'll do the Greek Empire, okay? And then after that, we'll do the Roman Empire. And after that, we'll do Christianity. Okay? So, we're going through history fairly quickly. But I need you to keep these ideas in mind because they will build on top of each other. Okay? All right. Okay, thank you.